Do justice, love mercy,
mercy,
and walk humbly with your God.
That's it.
You left your practice 3 years ago, I
Yes,
understand.
ma'am.
And how did that feel to take such a major change in your life?
Medicine was changing so fast, managed care and all, and you had to work on a certain schedule as far as how many. And I had some new patients every year, but most of mine I'd seen every year for about 50, 60 years. So I see them around town all the time. So I miss seeing friends, but I don't miss doing the practice. It's changed a lot. I think it'll be for the better, but I think it just changed an awful lot.
And how did that major change in your life affect you, though? Now
Great.
you're...
Every day was a vacation. Every day was Saturday or Sunday. It changed a lot for Marcia. I say all the time, but we never have lunch. So she didn't have to change a bit, and that was a long time. And I had wanted to do some things like we have a group of about 30, 35, mostly retired doctors, a lot of them retired professors from Emory, and we had these marvelous lectures teaching, they call it the teaching company, that best professors all over the country giving these lectures. I don't know how they can give all their intellectual property for such a small amount, but it's absolutely terrific. So we do Monday and Tuesday afternoon. Monday morning we go walking by the river, and it was every day. It was 5 weekends, Saturday and Sunday. It was perfect.
So you believe in lifelong learning?
If you're able to.
How old are you?
I'll be 85 next month, July 9th.
And how long have you been married?
58 years.
That's wonderful. Can you tell me about one experience in your life that you think was a turning point for you, that changed everything?
When I finished my, I left Chattanooga at 15, go to Knoxville to get my BS from University of Tennessee. I was born a block from the University of Chattanooga, which at that time was not part of the University of Tennessee like it is now. Liberal arts school, and it was every bit as good, if not better than Knoxville, but they didn't have a great football team. So went up to Knoxville, got my degree. Also, they didn't have a med school. Got my degree there, and way across state to Memphis, and got my MD there. So that was one big change. Another one was after my year at the University of Chicago, went down to Washington U Med School in St. Louis to start my specialty training, OBGYN. I thought I'm there for the rest of the time. Never going to be drafted, but after 1 year there, I turned 22, and that's when the Army could, the service could draft you. So all we had at Knoxville was those too young for the draft and those too old for the draft back in 45. But then this was time when they were coming back from the Army, and it's a very serious program. I think that college kids tended to cut up more when I was just starting, but then we had these, all these guys come back on the GI Bill, which really was the greatest thing ever, and they were serious, very serious, because they were in their late 30s, early 40s, wife and kids. So we were two groups, those really too young for it, and those already out of it. And that wasn't much playing around, like probably in previous years.
So you went to school with the returning vets, is that
Yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
And did them having such a different experience than you in life already, and then and being much older, affect how you looked at what you planned to do with your life?
I think I always knew what I wanted planned to do. But the thing is, they were V-12. Every university was associated with either V-12, that's Navy, or ASTP, which was Army. And Memphis, Tennessee was V-12. And a number of them had come through and flunk one course, and you're at chipping paint. You ever heard that?
Mm-mm.
You ever heard it? There's a crew, starts at the bow. What's the front of a ship?
I think it's the
Bow to the stern.
Mm-hmm.
And they start chipping paint, and the guy right behind them is putting on new paint. And it takes about a year to go all around the thing. And it's always going on the ship. They're always cleaning or something. Right? And I didn't realize that. But anyway, they flunked one course, and they were out chipping paint. Mm-hmm. So they didn't play around at all. Because there were several that they flunk out on one course, and a lot of them had come back after the war.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a group of us, too young and having a great time. They weren't interested in a great time.
So you were drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a doctor by then?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do as a doctor in the military?
If you had, well, I had, 1.5 years of specialty training. If you have 9 months, you are a specialist, says the Army. And I'd had a 1.5 years, so I was sent to the main Air Force hospital in Europe, Wiesbaden, which is a magnificent hospital, and spent most of my service time there. Mm-hmm. It was such an unbelievable hospital. We have hospitals not segregated. We have officers and enlisted men. The Germans never put enlisted men in a hospital, anything with their officers. And this was the Luftwaffe, therefore, officers' hospital. You don't get any higher. Now, we didn't pay any attention to that. I was there a short while until I saw the comparison between it and other hospitals. It was the ultimate like that. And for a long time, all of our hostages from Iran and all came to there. I wasn't there, but that was the best. And so it was a great 2 years.
But you were an OBGYN.
Mm-hmm.
This was the Luftwaffe hospital.
No. We took it over as our Air Force hospital.
Oh.
Americans never go unless the GIs can take their wives and children with them.
Oh.
And the other armies did not do that.
Ah.
And
Mm-hmm.
we were in there in case the Russians attacked. That was only. We still have 50,000 troops there. It's crazy, because if the Russians attack, every GI is going to break through the rank and run home to see about his wife and kids. It was a joke. We knew it wouldn't work, but they just still took over for morale.
Mm-hmm. You've been married a long time, and you were elementary school sweethearts, I understand.
We met about this. Were you in the 6th grade?
I was about 14.
She was in the temple in Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
I was at B'nai Zion's Orthodox Synagogue, and so I'm here. So she had her church, and I went to mine. But the thing is, they gave what was your club that needed boys?
We decided to have a chorus at the temple, and the temple was only an excuse to have a party, but we didn't have enough boys, so we had to import boys.
They had to scrape the barrel like that and bring in Orthodox boys, which was not what they wanted. They didn't have enough. The Orthodox community is a little larger, so we met at a party there.
Mm-hmm. So you've done a lot of different things, even though you've had a consistent family relationship and a consistent career.
Mm-hmm.
But how has your view of life changed over the years, and what changed it?
Awful lot of travel. Even when I was in Wiesbaden, the colonel was an ex-OBGYN, so he favored us. So he told us, 3 of us, you deliver the 100 babies, and then you on your own, whatever you want to do. So most people have a limit to how many days you can take off. We could arrange to take off a whole month. As long as we took care of the women, we did a lot of surgery, and the babies, he wasn't interested. It was VOCO. They give us a card. verbal, you have to usually have a card. Lieutenant, captain can go to a certain thing and be back in 5 days. There were 4 of us in the OB/GYN party that just really traveled. One of the guys brought over a Chevrolet. That was the only car we had. And gasoline in Germany on the base was 20 cents a gallon. For the Germans, it was very high. And did the craziest thing a number of times. Always said, well, nobody will ever know. We had a tank, I guess, always filled with jerry cans. You know what a German jerry can is? To the brim. If we'd had a little hit from behind, we wouldn't be here. Anyway, so we visited East Berlin, which was still German. I mean, still Russian, but I didn't realize. And East Germany had to go through 100 miles. But nobody ever saw that except going through. And then we have visited every city in Scandinavia, a country in Scandinavia, every country west of the Iron Curtain, and whole British Isles. We just traveled.
So what has it meant to you over the years to be able to travel? How has it changed your view of things?
I know a lot more about the world than if I hadn't. But one thing very different was I was in for 2 years, but after 16 months, Air Force assigned me to Tripoli, Libya, the Wheelers Air Force Base. And they had a nice little hospital, but they had not taken GI dependents, women and children, there. They were a little slow. Then they decided they're going to do that, and they assigned me. They wanted anyone else that would go, and I was anxious to go. Everybody had a family and kids, and when I said I'll go, they were so happy. Went there and established an OB/GYN service at Wheelers Air Force Base, Libya. Well, I've never been to the desert. It's the most beautiful city in the world. Having a lot of trouble now. Crazy leaders, but beautiful town. And signed me there.
What have you learned from all your travels and experiences that you'd like to pass on, that people who are seeing this might benefit from knowing?
The sites are different, but people are the same.
And, of course, the cultures are different.
Yeah.
So how did that affect your approach to your female patients, dealing with different cultures?
We did not take care of foreign people. Only people we saw were GI's wives from the States. So it was the same as practicing at home.
So at home, was your practice pretty homogeneous, or did you have women of various ethnic backgrounds and cultures?
I went in with a man who'd spent 5 years in New Guinea, came back. He was one of the first OB/GYN. He had a huge practice of almost all. And so it was a homogeneous practice.
Meaning that your patients were mostly of one ethnic group?
No, I think we had the largest Jewish group in Atlanta because of him. But the rest of it was all the same. White, black, all like that, but we had. I went in practice, he already had a practice, but the early practitioners would join Standard Club, everything, build up a practice. I never had to build up, just hopefully be accepted by what he had.
So what's the hardest thing you ever did in your life, and how did that affect how you thought about your life after that experience?
Hardest thing. When I got to Wiesbaden, the ear, nose, and throat man was 2 years, and he says, I'm out of here. And they couldn't get anybody for a month. So the CEO says, I hate to tell you, but for about 6 weeks, you're going to have to do ear, nose, and throat. And I went through rotating internship, but you cannot have everything in the rotation. I did not have ENT, by coincidence. And so that you're going to be doing tonsils on adults and children. And I said, my gosh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I know how to not. And so I also did not know if the Army tells you to do something, And there's a form, but they don't like it known. You got to put one on. If you write, I'm doing this under orders, though I don't feel competent to do this, they will absolutely not let you do a thing in that field. I didn't know that. So first couple of days, they'd bring these GIs down, almost out, with the GI on each side, hold his head back, and me, I'm taking out the tonsil, and that was scary. And but never had one get it. There's a big vessel going to the thing, and there's a tricky way to get it, and I'd seen that once. So luckily I didn't have trouble. But on almost my last day, I did it for 6 weeks, the last day before the new ENT man arrived, this nice lady comes in with a little boy, and there you're getting in trouble. And he needed tonsils out. She had no idea that I'd never done one on a child. But hey, I was under orders to do it. So they made the child a little sleepy, held it, and it all went very well. What would have happened if something going wrong? But anyway, a month later, I'm in my regular OBGYN, and she's with the child with her, and she comes in pregnant. And she looks and says, "You're a specialist in everything." But the service does things like that. But there's always something behind if you don't feel you should be doing it. I didn't know.
What do you think is the most important thing that you've learned in your life that you'd like other people to know?
If you treat patients well, you're not apt to have any trouble. I think that's the main thing.
And what moment in your life has been the happiest?
My marriage. And we had 3 boys, and terrific boys. And I would think that's it.
And were there any other really tough decisions that you've had to make during your life that you feel really changed everything or made a difference in what happened afterwards?
Can you think of any? I can't think of any. I never made decisions that I didn't feel I was totally competent to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was trained. Marcia was educated. Okay, we were on the wartime system. They let us take a few courses. They told us what to take all through med school and all through pre-med. She was able to take literature and history and all like that we were not. We got one elective at Knoxville, and I thought the best one would be as listed Greek and Latin etymology. I did not know the languages, but all the words in medicine come from one or the other. So, but she had marvelous courses that I was not able to take. But it was wartime. You were exempt because you were in med school, so you do what they said.
When did you realize that you were trained and your wife was educated, and what difference did that realization
More
make
than
to
what
you?
she took, but mainly she is an avid reader. I was not at all. I read more now than I ever did. And she had great courses in literature, history, everything that I didn't have.
Now you do. Now you do. Now you do.
Oh, now I do, right. That's what she's saying.
So you've spent your life helping women stay healthy,
Yes.
and treating disease, diagnosing disease.
Absolutely.
How have you been able to face your own illnesses?
I passes. My family history is awful. Today I'm 7 or 8 years older than anybody in my family ever lived. And they all died of heart attacks in 50s and 60s. And family history is very important. But the family history of heart disease, I think, is just about over, unless somebody ignores it. I had my triple bypass in 85, 3 stents since then, for probably a couple of mild heart attacks, and Lipitor. Heart disease is totally gone way down this as a killer of men. It's still, women don't get checked for it, it kills just as many men as women. They don't think so.
What are you dealing with now as far as illness?
Cancer of the pancreas. And the heart disease you can avoid. You can't avoid pancreas.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm feeling pretty good, but about getting it, I read 2 in the paper this morning, cancer of pancreas, 65, 70. I'm pretty darn late to get it. Everybody does sometime.
What would you like to do now? You have all day free. Your energy level may come or go, or maybe it's good. So what do you want to do with your life now?
I've just now started going back to the meeting. I hadn't gone to meetings for a long time. I played tennis all my life. And yesterday afternoon, the guys insisted that I come back and just watch them hit balls. So I said, I'm going to do that. But before that, we went down to the shopping center, and I fell and got bruises everywhere. So no tennis. They want me to just come and watch tennis. And before, I got sick a month ago, a lot of walking at the river. The Chattahoochee has some beautiful walks along it, way up all the way to the dam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I want to do.
Is there anything that you want to pass on to people that comes from your experiences, your philosophy of life, that you might not have said, and that, you know, you want to say, here's the way I live my life, or here's the way I see things?
I've lived in such a way that I don't know of any enemies and lots of friends. They're coming over and bringing me food. I can't eat very well right now, and they're almost a little too much with the food and all. But they come by and say hello, and they keep after me to come out more. I'm not making every meeting, so because I can't drive anymore. A year ago, I had 2 little accidents. One, I think my fault. The other not, but still, I know I went through a red light. Nobody was hurt, but I touched it, I hit his car right in front of Costco. So I know I shouldn't be driving. I always wondered, well, what would I do when I was told not to drive, and still wanted to. But the thing is, I was 84. So it waited till 84 to do that. And I'm not sure 84 should be driving anyway, but they won't let me drive. She drives me everywhere. And they come, the guys are helping out. She wants to, but she has her own schedule. So they come take me to the meetings. And in Atlanta, that's kind of far. I hate to do it. But she wants to pick me up, but they insist on driving me back.
So what do friends mean to you?
Just about everything. Like I say, we got a couple in there, feuds, a couple of them in there, in the group of 30, 40 people. But I was thinking, I don't think I'm on bad terms with anybody. I don't know what they think, but they put on the act if they are.
So have you ever told them what they mean to you? I guess that...
I always tell them, when they insist on coming to get me, I tell them, you guys are doing too much and all like that. Mm-hmm. Everybody is living much longer now. And used to be doctors died in the saddle. But about 45, I practiced for 58 years and only stopped at the end. It was just time to stop. Mm-hmm. Also, OBGYN is now any man that goes into it who's not going to be a top professor, something, he's out of his mind. It's not the field for men anymore. Except those that want to do academic, be a professor, 9 to 5. More women are in it now than men. They all work for a third party. Somebody. I went into medicine to be my own boss. We were taught as kids, one, the fact that we're Jewish. We said, you can't get a job at Penny's, you can't get a job at DuPont. Sam Shapiro is now head of DuPont. Things have changed an awful lot. And so be your own boss, so there's nobody to fire you. But these women want a 9 to 5 job, home to the kids, and it's much better, much better.
Mm-hmm. So what's important to you now?
family. We got most here, some in Connecticut. Marcia's here. The others want to come too much. He's coming down. He's here last weekend from Connecticut, and he called, told her he's coming again. I wish he wouldn't do so much because it's a big expense. So that's about it.
But if you don't think about the expense, you like to see them.
I like to see them. I don't like them spending so much.
So
But I had a huge policy that I never worried about. It's going to take care of all of them when I'm gone. My main estate was insurance. My last, and it's a huge policy that I've been paying on for 50 years, expired last Saturday. I think I should have shot myself Friday. But anyway, so we're not leaving them near as much as I thought I would. And he's a professor of medieval English up in Connecticut. And you can imagine the immense salary they make.
So I know it's a lot to think about, but what would you say if you started a sentence with, "What I've learned so far is..."
The value of family and friends. That's about it.
Is there any advice you'd like to give people? Let's break it down into various categories about, let's say, about living healthy. What advice would you give people?
Pick the right wife. The girls in the office, when they'd see what I ate for lunch, say, "I'm going to tell Marcia."
What would you say about staying happy? What would your advice be?
Staying happy? I think that depends on the basic personality situation. I can't think of anything that kept me unhappy for long, because I've always done what I thought I would do. I always intended to get less training and come back to South. I always thought it might be Memphis or Chattanooga. I never realized it'd be Atlanta. But when I was in St. Louis, it was 5-10 times as big as Atlanta. Then the kids reminded me last week, I can't believe it. Atlanta is so much bigger than St. Louis. I felt I was coming back to a small town in 52. But it's amazing what's happened.
How about what advice you would give people about how to treat a friend?
I guess it's the old cliche, as you'd want to be treated. I don't think of anybody ever say I treated her wrong, or him wrong with that.
And how about how to treat family?
A little special. I'm not a big advice giver, but our kids have never done anything that required much advice. They know we want to go to school, do well, and that's it. And it's fairly well.
So, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Can't think of anything. I've been very lucky in doing what I planned to do all my life. This is the only big setback right here, but then I never looked to be alive this time. My mom said her brothers, they all died in the Chevy, sitting in the Chevy at 50 years old. And that was it. Heart attacks kill so many, and it's so rare these days. I mean, to die from it. They can do so much.
So, how do you look at this time now, since you didn't really expect to live this long? How do you look at this time?
I didn't. I was just, it's a bonus, but my oldest brother died 7 years before my age, and I just cannot believe what I'm doing here. But sooner or later, something's got to catch up. Got cancer. Well, if you had no cancer, everybody's still alive. What are you going to do with them? So I always said, something's got to come sometime. But I thought it'd be something in the family. My dad had cancer of the colon, and when they opened him at Mayo's, they think that he probably had cancer of the pancreas, but he was 78. But biopsy is dangerous, and they knew they weren't going to do anything. So they closed him up, came home, cured of the colon, but the pancreas got him. And so my pancreas came along with any forewarnings like that.
So you said everybody's got to die sometime, which is one of the truths of our existence.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Gotta be. No, anything lives, eventually dies. I don't believe in the afterlife or anything like that. No living organism anywhere in the ground or anything lives forever. So just make the most of what you got. And don't part enemies with anybody. Yeah. In the old days, growing up, I knew some with, everybody knew they don't talk to each other. So ridiculous. Die, everybody would try to get them together, but no. And it's the worst thing to die, still mad at somebody like that. So, very simple, I think, if you can call it a philosophy.
You said that Jacob always gave you advice. What was that advice again?
He always told me never draw to an inside straight, but I don't know what that means. I think it's in poker.
What did you mean by that, Jacob?
You never play poker? Okay. That's the...
Nothing.
Do you play poker?
No.
There, you got 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're missing a 4. No, that's virtually the worst thing to do because you don't never get it. It's something out of Las Vegas. Somebody tell you they use that in movies sometimes.